Today you'll see two really well-fitting hoodies with princess seams front and back. One has a cowl neckline, one has an awesome hood. And of course you'll see how to sew all the fun features here. One with a little bit of print, one in a solid. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and in today's video, hoodie sewing. I am generally not a person that will sew many hoodies. I have sewn a few in the past, I have worn them, I have enjoyed them. But I have been a little bit particular about the type of hoodie that I make. And generally, I don't want it to be a really boxy, oversized type of design that has a lot of positive ease and not enough shaping, that sort of thing. When I saw the testing core for this hoodie, the Lamma hoodie from Itch to Stitch, I liked it straight away because Candice always incorporates a lot of fitting features into her designs, including hoodies. So this one, I really like the look of the line art because it had front princess seams and back princess seams. I love that. It is not common that you will see all these different fitting features in a sweater. Usually sweaters and hoodies are viewed as an item of loungewear, something boxy, something oversized, that sort of thing. Not the case with this one. As I mentioned, there are front princess seams, and the princess seams on the front come from here. They originate from the shoulder, but they don't come from there. They're not the princess seams that start on the armhole. They come from the top, and I love those. Raglan sleeves are always really easy to sew and really easy to fit. These Raglan sleeves have a shoulder dart there, cutaway dart, and at the back you have a little yoke piece, also some princess seams. These princess seams at the back do come from the side here, from there, so you have the more traditional curve at the back. A really great design for you to mix fabrics and use different colors that match each other in these different panels. On the center front panel, you have inseam pockets there, and they are very well fixed into the bottom hemband, so they are pockets that are not flopping around in there. You put your hands in the center area. Of course, it's a long sleeve design, and you can have two options to finish the bottom here of the hem. One is with a regular cuff, the typical cuff that you would sew on, and the other one is different, has two separate pattern pieces, and you can make a thumbhole feature there on the bottom of the sleeve. I think that's really cool. I've done both of those. And for the necklines, you have two options. One is a really cool hood, has a lot of pattern pieces. It's a hood that is also like a cowl neckline because it comes up high here and it has a center piece, another one here, another one there in the center. I'm saying it's a lot of pieces, but it's not hard to sew. And the cowl neckline, that is composed of only one piece. Big piece that folds over. Both of these use two grommets or buttonholes, a drawstring, that sort of thing. I believe the design is meant to hit mid-hip, so not covering your bottom, not too short either. For fabrics, this is where I have a hard time finding the appropriate fabrics because of my weather context. They just aren't sold and I have to look online and it's just really hard. But you want sweatshirting material, obviously, French terry, fleece, that sort of thing. It doesn't need to have that much stretch, 25 to 30% horizontal stretch. You also need some lighter lining fabric for the pockets and the hood. Same amount of stretch. I was able to find sweatshirting material that is fleeced back inside, but it's those types that don't have any stretch. It's those really stiff ones that I bought online as a mistake because I really didn't know how it was going to be when it arrived. It's just really stiff, so it's not appropriate for this. Just got it there, it'll work for something eventually. Actual fleece is just something that even if I found it, I would not buy. I'm just not a fan of fleece. It's just extremely warm, too warm for me. I wouldn't be able to wear it. French terry is something I can rarely ever find. My fabric choices are not conventional, but they are appropriate. I have chosen to use a pretty medium to heavyweight athletic knit. It's the type I would use to make leggings with or jackets, not a stiff type of knit. For that hoodie, I combined my fabrics. I have some print and some solid. I like doing that. If you're subscribed to the newsletter from Itch to Stitch, Kenneth sends out an email and with a link there where you can see all the versions that the testers made. You'll see a lot of color blocking there. And I didn't really have all the materials to be able to color block, but I did some minimal amounts of that. For my other one, I was so happy to find some stretch velvets, and it's a type of fabric I've been looking for ages. And I was able to find just the right kind to make this garment. So very happy. 2 different fabrics. The athletic knit is heavier in weight, but is thinner in its texture, so it's not fluffy. The stretch velvet feels lighter, but it is fluffier. It takes up more space. So they do behave different, they are going to look different, and I'm really happy to show you both. I've also sewn one with hood, one with a cowl, one with a thumbhole, one with a regular cuff, so I've done different things. The newer patterns from Each to Stitch come from sizes 00 to 40 US, so it's a really excellent size range that'll go up to a bust of 63 inches and a hip of 62 inches. For this design, being a knit design, it doesn't have individual cup sizes, but you do have a regular bust option and a full bust option. The cut line there is the 3-inch mark difference between the high bust and the full bust. You have a difference of 1, 2, and 3. You could choose a regular bust. If your bust is 3 or more, I think at the 3 you can choose whether you do the regular or the full bust. You can choose the full bust. I've done the regular bust. It's what I've done before in other designs that Kenneth has made with this type of feature. I rarely ever need to do a full bust option because my 3-inch difference doesn't require it. If you have a larger sewing bust cup size, if your difference is 3, 4, 5, you'll be better off with the full bust option. As I mentioned before, I like this design because it's not boxy, it's not oversized, and you have about 4 inches of positive ease at the bust, which is perfect. You know, it allows you to put some layer underneath. This is a garment for colder weather, so you're obviously most likely not just wearing the sweater on, you have other garments underneath. Then at the hips, you have about 3 inches of positive ease. So I would say this is a semi-fitted hoodie. It's not fitted, it's not loose, it's not boxy. It's very nice. It's got waist shaping. The shaping on the upper chest with the princess seams is amazing. So it's just a really well-fitting hoodie. It's going to be smooth on the sides. I can't say enough about the fitting. The fit is amazing. So the only fitting adjustment I decided to do for these, and is based on my previous experience with other Each to Stitch patterns, was to add 1 inch to the sleeves. There's a shorten and lengthen line there, and I did use it. I pretty much use it all the time to add 1 inch, 1.5 inches. I thought I'd go with 1 inch, and that was the right amount for me. I know that if I don't add length, I'll end up with shorter sleeves just because I'm a little bit taller, and I actually do have longer arms compared to most patterns, so I added length there, but in the main body area I didn't add anything. I left it just the same. Because the Lamma hoodie is a new pattern, it is at a discounted price for the first week. You can find all the information below in the description box, along with my affiliate link if you would like to use it. Maybe you like how this pattern goes together and you want to try it for yourself. I highly recommend. I'm very happy with it. The sewing footage I've filmed for you is about the inseam pockets, and it's a feature I rarely ever sew. I will only sew them in a pattern test, and I've been known to skip some pattern tests when the pockets are there and I just don't like them, but I like these and I have sewn them and I have filmed them. I think they are very well made, very well designed. I like the way they are sewn, so that's included in Up Close and So Personal. So is how to construct those thumb holes on the hem of the sleeve. I think that's really fun, really neat. And also how to construct that line hood with 4 pieces on the main fabric and 4 pieces on the lining fabric. That is also super fun to make, and I've filmed all that for you. Let's hop into it. This hoodie has 3 pattern pieces from main fabric here. Some of the ones I have here are contrast fabric. These are the sides of the hood. This small piece will be in the middle here at the bottom, and there will be grommets there, and then that long one is the one that's going to go in the center there. And the same pattern pieces are cut out of lining fabric. This is just a cotton spandex, lightweight. I chose it because it's structured and I do want the hoodie to have some structure, so I went with this type of jersey instead of choosing something floppy like rayon spandex. The front is made out of 3 pieces. There is this center front and then the side fronts, and princess seams are there. You can see the shape. I've got a contrast fabric here with a bit of print, and then the sides are just black. You can do whatever combination you want. I think that's really fun. Now in this section we have inseam pockets, and there's a notch there and a notch there on both sides. Before putting everything together, the curved edges of the pocket bags and pocket linings need to be serged, as well as the long edges of the center fronts and the side fronts. All those long curved seams need to be serged before putting everything together. For the pockets, there's a pocket lining that I've just got out of cotton lycra here, and then the main pocket that is used with the same fabric as the main fabric. Now on this edge, you find that on this straight edge, you'll find a notch there and a notch there, and between there you need to fuse some interfacing to stabilize away from the edge, so that when you sew, you will catch that in the seam line. And you do that for both of these main pockets and for the lining pockets. Now my black cotton does not show the black interfacing along the edge there, but it also has it right there. And you take your pocket lining piece and put it right sides together with this. They will match at the bottom right there. And now this has a seam right there and right there. While I am pinning things, I'm going to pin the main pockets onto the side fronts. The lining pockets have been pinned onto the edges there. Now I'm just going to do the same over here. These two side fronts, the fabric is right sides up. There will be notches there for you to match them on both sides right there. Okay, so here I have the side fronts with the main pockets pinned right there, both of them, and I have the lining pockets pinned onto the center front. Before sewing all these pocket pieces to the side front, in this case has the main fabric of the pocket, and on the center front has the pocket linings, I have serged this curved edge. That's already been done. It needs to be done before you sew these long ends. And the seam allowance for this hoodie is 3/8. After sewing this, you need to open it like that and then understitch right there on the edge. That will keep the pocket inside. This is repeated with all the pockets, with the other side of the side front and with the center front. It's all the same. You just sew these ends, then you flip the pocket. Make sure the pocket bag is right sides up, as is the side front or the center front. Seam allowance is pushed towards the pocket piece right there. I've just sewn the pocket lining to the center front. Now the side fronts have the pocket pieces that are made from main fabric go on top, and you match the shape there. That's why these were serged prior. So we're matching these. Now we can sew this section together, the curved edge there on both sides. And then after that's done, then we can unite this center front to the side fronts partially, leaving a section open there, and that's where we're going to put our hands in. So these curved edges of the pockets are sewn. Just flip them that way. And now I've aligned the side front pieces to the center fronts, or this section that hadn't been sewn yet. There's a notch right there and one down below here. So there's a good maybe 6 or 7 inch section that should be left open, because that's where you're going to put your hands inside. So you sew from the top up to that notch, reinforce, and then from that notch down to the bottom, reinforce. And then these pockets get pulled into the center. This long seam will also be pressed towards the center. This will get basted onto the bottom, and then the band will be there. So the pockets are going to be fixed onto the band, and they're not going to be moving around anywhere. They'll be very fixed when you put your hands in there. This is the whole front completed, the center front, the side panels, and the inseam pockets are done. This is how the back looks like. There's also a center back and two side back pieces and a little yoke inset on top. Very easy to put together. Easy raglan sleeves come next. These are the thumbhole insets. You will see that they're slanted on one side and straight on the other. And along two edges you have notches. The edges that don't have notches, those are the ones that you fold lengthwise. So that with 3/8 seam allowance using my shallow zigzag. Now that I've sewn those thumbhole insets, you just flip these right sides out. As I mentioned, one side will be slanted and the other one straight. You can trim away part of this excess of the seam allowance there. These are the wrist pieces and they have a curved edge and a notch right there. This bottom edge needs to be serged and then the hem done. There's a little notch to guide and the hem allowance is 3/4 of an inch. After hemming that, we just place them there, and then the thumb insets at the bottom, you can see they follow a slant the same. Keep the seams pointing up and then cover the thumb inset with the wrist piece. Cover it like that so that there's about 3/4 of an inch hanging here. 3/4, 3/4. So I'll just put a pin on each side and then baste all these layers together so that this performs as one piece. Then at the bottom of the raglan sleeve, there is a curved area there at the bottom of the hem on one of the sides, and all this curved edge needs to be pinned there and sewn. This is the bottom of the raglan sleeves, and you'll see a curve like that if you're sewing this option. If you're sewing the simple one with a cuff, then there's a shorter cut line there and you would just add a cuff. That's easier. This is not hard, fiddly but not hard. When you're sewing small pieces on a curve like this, I don't really trust my pins, so I've gone and hand basted it. Along the center of this curve, you'll see a notch there on the sleeve and on the wrist piece, so they have to match. And here at the bottom, you need to have 3/4 of an inch protruding because that's how the rest of the sleeve will be hemmed later. I'll serge and then sew, and then I can just use this raglan sleeve and keep putting my hoodie together like normal. I have lots of pieces on the table to construct this hood. It looks more complex than what it actually is. These pieces here are for the main hood, and then those over there are for the lining. They're the same, you just cut them twice. This is the center piece of the hood that I'm doing with a contrast fabric. On the other side, on the pattern, you'll find the center notch and then where to put grommets or buttonholes. When you place interfacing on top of that, you lose those marks, of course, so then you need to get your pattern piece and mark them again. You can see those yellow marks. You always need to put the grommets on top of the interfacing or the buttonholes, whatever you're doing. And these are going to end up centered over a casing that will be created later. This small piece will go sewn in between these two hood pieces there, like that. That's how the front is going to look. And on the top, in this round area, we have the central panel that will be sewn in between these two. So I'll just go ahead and pin lots of things for both the main and the lining pieces there and then put them together. Here are all the pieces pinned together ready to be sewn. Because these seams will be enclosed within each other, the hood is lined. You don't need to serge or anything, so I'll just be sewing with my sewing machine. Here I'm sewing the two central seams. They are short seams that unite the central panel to the side ones for the hoodie. Easy peasy. I'm using my typical shallow zigzag stitch that I use for these. That will give me almost a straight stitch, but a little bit wavy, a little bit of stretch is possible. Then I switch over to these long curved seams that unite that long central panel to the lateral panels of the hoodie on the top of the head. I like it when hoodies have this shape because it just fits the head nicer. It's a nicer rounder shape, more 3D than when hoodies just have two pieces and you just have a central seam on the top of the head to the back. After sewing all these long seams, I have a hoodie that is assembled, and now I can go ahead and repeat the same thing with the lining pieces. It's exact same thing. Here's the main hood. I have pressed the seams inside. These front ones, I attempted to press them open. This fabric does not press very well. It's athletic knit. That's where your face will be. I have the same thing here with the lining piece. This cotton, the seams pressed open on their own. I didn't need to press anything open. I've sewn them normally and they just flip open. The lining is right sides up, so you can see the seams right there. So we have the main wrong sides up, the lining right sides up, and I'm going to slide this one inside. So when we do this, we have this central panel there, this short central panel, and you'll get right sides together, right side of the main with the right side of the lining there. Match that all along this opening there, pin that and sew it. Okay, here it is, the lining inside, the main one outside, both are right sides together. I'm sure when you see designs like this you think that they're hard to put together, but everything goes together. There are notches to match every single piece in this hood. And even though the hood takes up 6 pattern pieces including the main and the lining, it is not hard to put together, and it's going to look super pretty, really different, not just a simple hood, you know. Now that this is sewn, we can flip this and the lining will end up being inside the hood. This is the seam that we've just sewn, so we need to push the lining inside and voila, we have a lined hood. My cotton lining is inside. I just need to tidy this up, press it here on the edges. I'm going to make sure when I'm pressing that the lining is rolling in so that it's not right on the edge like that. When the wrong side of the fabric is white, you would see that coming out from underneath the seam allowance. So I'm going to trim the seam allowance as short as possible in this section so that you can't see that. This bit here, that white seam allowance, I'm just going to trim it really short in this area. Actually, I'm going to trim the whole seam allowance to 1/4 inch. After trimming the seam allowance, I'm going to be snipping, especially in the front part of this shape. It's quite curved, so it'll pull less if I just do a few snips in here. I have pressed the edges of this opening. As you can see, I've rolled the seam to the inside and made sure that what you see outside is the main and you're not going to see the lining. It's just like 1/8 of an inch. To make sure that that doesn't move, I have also hand basted that. Okay, so the hood piece is completely assembled, everything's sewn. That's where you thread in your drawstring afterwards. And the bottom here of the lining and the main, I've joined the raw areas and just hand basted. So now I can attach this to the neckline. I've turned the body of my hoodie wrong sides up, the right side is in there. So then you just slide your hood piece inside so that the right side is touching the right side, like that. You can see on the back there are notches here to match this central seam there. Here's everything pinned, the hood inside, the main sweater on the outside, both right sides together. These seams of the raglan sleeves there need to be pressed towards the center of the sleeve, and that shoulder dart pressed towards the back. Everything matches, and now it's just sewing around and serging. Always really hard for me to show a sweater with a hood on my hanger. I'm like trying to make it stand up like that, but you can't. Here on the top you can see my hood. As you saw, there is a central area here of the hoodie. There are the 2 grommets. I have a little box of grommets and I use them very carefully. I want them to last me forever. A friend sent them to me from the US. I've chosen the golden color for that. I've made my own drawstring, and I just made it out of rayon twill. Nothing complex about making your own drawstring. You cut it on the straight of grain and you construct it like you would bias binding. You fold it in half lengthwise and then fold it in half lengthwise again. Fold that together and just sew on the edge. That's all I did. At the end here, I put some fray check on the raw edges before tying up a little knot there. Little knot. I don't have those little plastic things that you put here for decoration, or those little metal things. I just don't have that sort of thing, so that's fine. You can choose to do the hood in the colors that you've been doing your sweater if you're doing color blocking. I have that center small panel with the print that I used on the bottom, and then this central area there of the hood. Really hard to show, but you'll see it better when I have it on my head. And then on the sides here, I just left it black like I did in the body here. This print material was so expensive, and I calculate I still have enough to make a dress, so I wanted to prioritize stretching the most I can out of this fabric. I can't buy it again. I tried to see if there was any more left, and I just really want a dress out of that too. That's why I didn't use the same material for the sleeves. That would have looked cool. I just used it for the center here on the front and for the center at the back. Here there's a little yoke piece. It's part of the design, so that also allows you to mix them and make contrast with colors, but I just use the same fabric. And on the sides I have the same type of athletic knit, but it's just black. So this is the side front here. The princess seams that originate from the shoulder in the design go over the bust from the top, not from the side. That's how these are, coming from there. And then a little below the bust we have the opening for the inseam pockets, as you saw. Super fun to sew, easy as well. And then I did my thumbhole detail there, as you saw, with the same fabric I've done here in the center. I love this print so much. It just makes this hoodie be super girly, feminine, just me all over it. It doesn't have strong colors, but it's just, I just really like the design of this print, and I really want to make a dress out of it. So you'll see one eventually. I'll show you how it looks inside. I've mentioned before that when I sew knit materials, I serge only to finish the edges, but I also sew everything with my sewing machine. So that's why you see me sewing in that way. My serger does not hold a seam. You can clearly see the seam lines as they curve out. Look at this curving shape there for the bust. That creates a space for your bust. And then the pockets are going towards the center, but they are fixed on the bottom with the band. They have a nice size for you to put your hands in. I wouldn't put items there because the opening is vertical. I think if you put things in there, they might fall out, I think. And at the back, you can see the seam line there for the yoke. The hoodie's line, that's why it looks black. Now, I was pondering between using rayon spandex for the lining. I have used that as lining in other hoods, but then I saw this cotton spandex instead and thought it's better to use cotton. If you have cotton for lining, I think it's nicer, it's more structured. It gives the hood that structure, so that when you put it on, it's not floppy and like flopping around, you know. In the future, I will opt to line hoods with cotton lycra or cotton spandex rather than rayon spandex, because rayon spandex is just too soft, too floppy, too drapey, and you don't really want that on a hood. From the edge, I have sewn with a twin needle there, all around the edge, using 1-inch seam allowance. And that creates the casing. Very easy to do. And I actually did film this, but there was an error in my SD card when I went to download the files. That specific clip was corrupted, and I was so upset because I had filmed it for you. I chose to do this with a twin needle just because I thought it would look pretty. Now, when you sew right on the edge there is a space under the grommets, but my presser foot does go over them. So that is a little tricky area there. With my regular presser foot, I just had to be super careful when I was sewing through that section because it just wanted to go over the grommet, over the bottom part of the grommet, but not hard to do. And I think it's really nice, really easy to make that casing for the drawstring to go through. That was my official pattern tester version. When you participate in a pattern test, you follow instructions. You don't do pattern hacks or change things. You're supposed to produce the garment that the pattern was originally designed for, and that's what that one is. It's got the pockets, it's got everything proper. No joggers, sweatpants or pants or jeans for me. I've got pencil skirt and boots. I could perfectly go to church in this sweater hoodie. I would be very happy to dress it up in this way with a nice handbag. I think it's a dressed up type of hoodie for me because of the print and the choice of fabric. It's an athletic knit, so it's just medium weight. It'll give me just the right warmth that I need. I love the fitting features that the princess seams give you. All the extra seams, they're all worth it, and I'll show you the details up close. This is the original length of the hoodie. I didn't make length adjustments, so on shorter people you might see that it's a little bit longer or that it covers the bottom completely. I think it's a nice length. The band is not super tight on the hips. I think the way that this was drafted is really nice. It's like a fitted hoodie, but not tight, not loose, not boxy, just right. I did add 1 inch of length to the sleeves. I think I need that, especially because of the thumbhole feature here. If I put my thumb through, it's really good. It's not pulling right there. When I don't put my thumb through, it might have been okay if it was a bit shorter, but if I put my thumb, it would have pulled really badly right there, and that's very uncomfortable. A distance below the bust is where the inseam pockets start. They are fixed into the band at the bottom, staying where they're supposed to be. When you put your hands in, they don't move anywhere or go anywhere. They are very nice pockets. Both the pocket bag and the lining have been understitched inside, so it does stay inside nicely. I've got the main fabric there. In case you put your hands in, you can see the flowers. And the lining is in there, black lining there. Raglan sleeves right there. There is a shoulder dart in the Raglan sleeve which makes it fit super well. Here are the top details. You can see that the hood involves this area here, so it does cover the neck, super cozy. Little grommets with the drawstring coming out of there. The center panel of the hood, I made it match the same fabric I used in the center of the body of the hoodie, of the sweater, so I think that looks really nice. You can do all this solid, you can mix colors, you can do whatever you want. That's what I wanted to do. Put my hair on the side. That's how the hood looks on. You can see this center panel matches this. That's how I wanted to do it. I love this hood. I think because I lined it with cotton spandex that is a sort of structured knit, holds up really nicely and it's not floppy. It's just the right size, the right height. This is how it looks on the back. Looks really nice. Very happy with my Lamma hoodie. I think it's really nice. The fit is amazing with the princess seams. Every single cut here helps with the fit and it just fits really well. For a fit that's not boxy or loose or like a rectangle, you know, there's a lot of shaping at the waist and around the upper chest, the bust. Makes it fit amazing. I'm super happy. I tend to, after the test, do my own one afterwards with a little bit of change. I don't submit this garment as part of the test. It's just something I did afterwards. And that's what I've done with my second Lamma hoodie. This one actually does not have the hood. It's got the cowl neckline, which was easier to sew. I have simplified it in some ways. First thing, I didn't do those inseam pockets. It's very easy to adapt and not do them because the pocket pieces are separate. You can just not cut them out. And when you sew this center seam, you just sew it all the way down without having the inseam pockets there. So it's not that I'm doing a hack or doing something different, like modifying the pattern to achieve a no pocket look. I'm just not putting those pocket lining and pocket bag pieces in there. So that's one change. This one originally has that yoke piece right there on the back. Now I thought I didn't really want that on this design. I wasn't going to be doing any color blocking or doing anything fun like that. Also my hair is going to cover that piece and I was working with limited fabric. I didn't really know how much I was going to be able to fit into my fabric. So I eliminated this seam. All I did was fold away the 3/8 seam allowance at the bottom here of the yoke, fold away the seam allowance of the top of the center back piece. I stuck them together and then I just formed one piece that I cut on the fold. That is the only other change. Otherwise, I chose a regular cuff version, which was super easy to sew, and then all the rest is the same. This is my second one. This is a stretch velvet. It's really fluffy. I find it fluffier than the other, although it feels lighter when I'm holding the garment up. Very beautiful, easy to sew. This fabric was so nice to sew. I was careful to choose the direction of the nap that I liked best by draping the fabric on my body and looking in the mirror first. When I chose which way I liked, I drew some arrows with chalk on the fabric so that I wouldn't get confused, and I cut out all my pieces going in the same direction. You don't want to cut pieces the other way around, because then you end up with the light hitting the fabric in different ways and just looking terrible. So you have to be really careful. And it's the same type of precaution you would have if you're working with a type of print that has a direction, like flowers that are going up or animals or birds. You don't want upside down things. It's the same precaution you do with something that has a nap. What I've chosen here is to have the smooth part of the nap going up. So when I touch it, it's really smooth. When I touch it going down, it's a bit coarse. But I like how the light hits it that way better. That's what I've chosen. Look, this is the cowl. It's very tall, very wide. The grommets are inside here with the drawstring. To wear it, you would obviously fold it onto itself. Then you have the grommets here coming out from the front with a drawstring. This drawstring I also made with this fabric that just keeps on giving. It's a leather look jersey. I've made several garments out of it. I still have a little bit left over, and I'm glad that this fabric matched my sweater. Love that. I used silver colored grommets in this case, and the casing here is also sewn from the top edge here when it's folded, and sewn 1 inch from the edge down all the way around. Very easy to do. I have regular cuffs here on the bottom, no thumb holes. Very easy. And one other thing I did with this one, just because of the type of fabric, it's fluffy, it's a solid, I thought it would look pretty, it's not part of the instructions, was to top stitch the princess seams down. I used my 1/4 inch presser foot to top stitch these down, this one, that one. It just helps them to lie flatter. On the back there you can see, and because of the type of fabric you can really see the top stitching, and I think it looks really pretty in my opinion. Love that. And I've also styled it with a dress and some heels just because, why not? This is my second Lamma hoodie done after the official test. So this one has a few modifications from the original, but just to simplify it, it does look pretty much the same. There are no pockets here, no pockets, so I just continued the seam like normal. On the body, it's the same fit, semi-fitted, nothing boxy here, very nice. The length, the band is not really tight on the hips, but it does bring it in a little. And the really nice cuffs there. You can see this fabric is so beautiful. This is the way I like to sew solids, when the fabric has texture, like this stretch velvet, the light hits it in different ways and it's really pretty. I have some top stitching on these seams, same as on the back. I had already mentioned that there's no pockets there, I just sewed the seam there like normal. I made my own drawstring with a scrap of a leather look jersey that I had that matches. There are the grommets. The cowl extends up like this, so it's really tall, but you fold it in half and you wear it like that. I think the drawstring for me is just a decorative feature with the grommets. I'm not going to pull it tight out or anything, I'm just going to leave it like that. I hope you can see the shape of the princess seams right there. I have top stitched them down. I think the fit on the bust is nice and smooth, nothing boxy, no excess fabric on the sides, just such a beautiful fit. I eliminated that little yoke piece. I didn't mean to do any contrast with another fabric, color blocking, and I didn't think with this solid you would really see anything special back there with my hair. Cozy garments, love this. This is just so nice. It goes all the way up like this. The grommets are inside, so you can wear this however you want, but if you wear it folded, then the grommets are shown on the outside, and so is that pretty drawstring that is just for decoration in my case. Love the color. I love this color on me and love it. Just love them both. I am set to have really nice things to wear at home and to go out when the weather cools down. These items won't be worn until probably May, and I can't wait. I love them, and I know I'm gonna feel awesome wearing them in the house and also wearing them out if I'm able to go out by then, because I don't really know what's going on. If you want to sew yourself a sweater or hoodie with princess seams, this is a very good one. It's so well fitting. Everything in the pattern is so well thought out, the instructions, the way everything's drafted. I'm very content and super happy to recommend this pattern to you. My affiliate link is down in the description box. As you know, if you purchase from there, I make a small commission, and that's part of how I make an income, by making free videos on YouTube. Thank you if you use it. I really enjoyed my time sewing this. Very nice way to ease yourself into sewing in the new year. I am trying to take a little step back from sewing something too complex right now. My husband and son are both on their summer holidays. The vibe in my house is very chill, and I'm trying to blend in there and also spend a lot of time with them. So these two projects were super perfect for me to sew up while spending time with them, trying to take a little breather myself from sewing things that are extremely complex right at this moment. So I loved sewing these, and I'll see you again very soon with more sewing. Bye!